I'm here with my good friend and colleague, Christine Mekatarian, who's the Assistant Director of the Architectural Drawing in Rome program. And Christine and I are going to have a conversation about the Rome program to try to help students get a sense of what the program will be like and to introduce them to Christine and to Christine's background. Christine, thanks for being with us tonight. Great to see you.
Sure, thank you. I'm
Now,
excited to be here.
we're so excited to have you. The first time you went to Rome, you were a junior in college, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I was there doing a study abroad program my junior year, and I lived there for about 7 months, taking a full course load and interacting with the city on a day-to-day basis, doing all those things that you need to do despite being a student, like running around doing errands and etc. And it was a really exciting time, and it was so enriching and incredibly memorable. Incredibly memorable.
Sure. I know from a lot of our conversations, you refer to that time in your life and that experience as being a time that sort of like blew you away or sort of blew your head off.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I know that you studied classics when you were at the Loyola Center in Rome.
Hmm.
How did, like, if you could talk about maybe a couple buildings that were significant and were part of creating that experience for you?
Hmm. During one of my art in Rome classes, some of the buildings that really made such a huge impression in when you're inside them was the Pantheon, which is a public space. It was a religious temple, actually, a multi-god temple that was a Roman building. That's uh, extraordinary in what they were able to accomplish from an engineering and architectural standpoint. And then at the other end of it is a Baroque church called San Ivo that Borromini, a Baroque architect, designed, and really used the geometry in a way that was quite revolutionary, actually, for the time. And so both of those were um, so memorable. Like, I can still remember what it felt like being in them for the first time. And I don't think I had ever really been in a space before where I could feel how the space and how it was constructed could affect somebody while they were in it.
Oh, really, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That's sort of what blew my head off.
Was that connection between like how a building can actually really affect your sense of body and sense of presence and sense of space?
Yeah, absolutely. And how in combination with materials and light and carving of a wall, the form that a wall would take as it moved through a space was something that I had never experienced before. And even having grown up in Chicago, which is a fairly architecturally significant city, there is nothing that does that.
Hmm.
Uh, it's really remarkable.
You currently work as a designer and as a in the design field for Skyline Design, which is an architectural glass company. And I know you've contributed to the development of product lines such as the Botanical Glass series for healthcare. Um, did your interest in materiality, like, and even going into working with materials now, is there any connection between that and maybe what you experienced in Rome many years ago?
I would have to say yes. I believe that in throughout my career, the wall and the different forms that it takes and the different materials that are used that create a wall and how it can move and affect one's sense of space has been something that's been throughout my life, whether I'm studying it or making installation work or working for an architectural glass company that creates interior walls that are made out of glass and the different designs that are used there to create an effect a sense of space while there. So there's a continuity there for me. Absolutely.
Often when you and I talk about Rome, you talk about the buzz or the energy. What is that about? What makes what
Um,
constitutes Roman energy?
it's a variety of things. You've got because the streets are so tiny in many parts of the city. There's a lot of people on Vespas, which is a tiny scooter, and they're zipping around everywhere all the time.
Hmm.
And so many things are outdoors. You know, there's outdoor cafes, there's outdoor restaurants, and so people are always partly on the street having conversations, relaxing, etc. And Rome, because of all of its architectural and art treasures, has a continual influx of people from all over the world. And so all of those things are happening simultaneously,
Huh.
and you're in it. The other amazing thing about Rome is it's one of the few places left on Earth, if you will, that have siesta,
Oh, right.
where
Yeah.
there's a rhythm to the day where from 1 till 5 or 2 to 5, depending, or 6, places are closed. And people go home, have a great lunch, hang out, take a nap, and then come back for the rest of the day. It's very civilized in that regard.
We're going to be staying in the neighborhood Trastevere.
Hmm.
Do you think that that experience with the ISA housing, do you think that'll be a great, really authentic Roman experience for students?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a residential part of the city. It's just across the river. It's really centrally located, but many people consider it to be the place where real, authentic Romans still live. And so there's not a lot of tourists. It's also one of the art hubs for the city. There's a lot of artists who live there, a lot of galleries, and it's sort of got a funkier vibe to it that make it more unique in a way
Hmm.
than other parts of the city.
Now,
So it's actually very exciting that we're staying there.
oh, that'll be great. And I know that students will have their own apartments and their own kitchens, so they can have the advantage of take advantage of the local markets and
Hmm. Hmm.
experience authentic Italian markets and shopping and food.
Yeah, and Rome has fantastic markets, not only for food, but they've got these amazing like open air markets where you can look for antiques or you can look for clothes, etc., that are just this wonderful, unique experience because we don't really have open air markets as a regular thing in the U.S. And so they're really quite unique.
That'll be
Yeah,
great. What
yeah.
about they say that Rome is known for its fountains.
Hmm. Hmm.
Are they literally are they everywhere? Are they
They are. They have so many fountains that it's actually sort of a little bit rare that you're not hearing the sound of water when
wow.
you're out in the street. There's so many. It's all over. And actually, Rome is built on a series of natural springs. So there's all this really great spring water that's naturally coming up out of the ground, and these really great elaborate fountains that are sort of unbelievable works of art. And that actually adds to the bustling quality in terms of just this layer of sound
Hmm.
that's really quite lovely.
I know that you're also a lover of great food, and that
And
Rome and
Rome.
Italy is known for food. And from our conversations, I know we're both lovers of gelato, which is that great Italian ice cream. Um, this is going to be a really hard question, but which is better, the gelato or the architecture?
That's a very difficult question. And I would advocate not having to choose. And so
Good answer.
I definitely would recommend eating gelato while you're walking the streets of Rome and taking in extraordinary architecture.
Good
That's
answer.
that's what I would do,
Good answer.
and plan on doing.
Yeah. We're going to have really full days while we're
Hmm.
there, which we're excited about seeing so many of these sites. We're also going to be doing a couple day trips. We're going to be going to Herculaneum, we're going to be going to see Hadrian's Villa, and we're going to be going to see Assisi, the one medieval stop on our trip.
Hmm.
And there's that famous Basilica of St. Francis in the double, is it the double layered church or what?
Yeah,
What
it's
is that?
essentially the Basilica of Saint Francis. They literally built a medieval church on top of an ancient one, and you can go from one to the other, and the footprint is almost identical, and it's really
Wow.
quite extraordinary that they left it. You know, they didn't destroy it. They built on top of it, and sort of used what was there as another foundation. And what's going to be really unique about that experience is there was an earthquake there just a couple years ago, and there had to be a massive undertaking to restore so many of the frescoes that were damaged in that earthquake. And so it'll be really interesting to see how that restoration came together, and what was there. And what's interesting about Herculaneum is a really wonderfully preserved example of the day in the life of a typical Roman from a residential perspective. Many of the places that we're going to be seeing when we're in Rome are going to be interiors that are more of a public nature, whereas Herculaneum will literally be seeing interiors of kitchens and bedrooms and living quarters of regular Romans, 2,000 years ago, which is really interesting.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Hadrian's Villa is also going to be a domestic space, of an emperor.
Yeah, it's a palace. It's a palace, and Hadrian, as an emperor, was um, hugely influenced by the ancient Greeks and their forms, and so there's a lot of Greek influenced statues and spaces there.